Okay, guys, let's kick things off. This is the way I'm going to be doing things. I'm going to be showing you the actual image as it would be shown in the game, and I'll be giving you the description, and then I'll be giving you my suggestion. So, this is the game sprite for the Beauclair White. Now, Beauclair being Paris in this case, I was thinking back to the wines of Paris and what is in general thought to be a very approachable white wine that is always consumed with almost every meal. And what I find is the closest wine I could think for a proper Beauclair white would be a Loire Valley Sauvignon Blanc. Now, say you have a thing against Loire Valley or you don't have access to Loire Valley, you can easily replace this with a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Now, most of my suggestions here are going to be French because Toussaint is what I'm assuming to be a mostly French region. Let's move on. The Butcher of Blaviken. Now, this is a reward that is given to you for completing a quest. And so this is Geralt of Rivia's personal red wine. Now, if I'm thinking of a wine for a Witcher, I have to think of something that's going to be overtly powerful, something that's really large and like non-apologetic. Price-wise, it's not all that bad. It's actually cheaper than the Beauclair White by 4 whole crowns, by the way. So I'm making the assumption that this is going to be a cheap, really approachable, and just in general nice red blend. So I'm going to say a Cabernet Shiraz blend or a maybe Pays d'Oc, Cabernet Grenache, and a Carignan blend. Not too expensive, pleasant, powerful, very easy to drink, and still, has a certain degree of class to it. That's what I believe the Butcher of Blaviken to be. All right, Chateau de Dôme Reserve. Now, Chateau de Dôme Reserve, because it is a reserve, I'm making the assumption it's a white wine that needs to age. I don't believe it to be in a Chardonnay region because I'm going to be explaining my reasoning for this later. So what I'm assuming is this is going to be closer to the region of Bordeaux. And because it can age, I'm making the assumption that this would be a really good quality Semillon. So I'm going to say a Bordeaux Reserve Semillon. That and the fact that it's called a chateau. And most of the chateaux are in Bordeaux. Okay, Chateau du Conrad Cabernet. Simple, this will just be a nice left bank Bordeaux blend from Bordeaux. Okay, now this one was interesting. Chateau Montvaljean. Now, because it's a chateau, I'm also making the assumption it's going to be from Bordeaux. But if you notice the shape of the bottle, it's actually like a sparkling one. See if I can zoom in a bit. Yeah, it has a sparkling wine stop on it, which makes me think that this would be a Cremant. A Cremant that utilizes Bordeaux white wine varieties. And a Cremant, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a sparkling wine like champagne, but it's made in a region outside of Champagne. So I say that this is a Bordeaux Cremant, utilizing maybe some Semillon, Uni Blanc, and some Sauvignon Blanc. Turned into a nice, easy to approach sparkling wine. All right, Count Va Oshman Shiraz. I believe this to be a good quality Rhone Valley Shiraz. Or even depending on the pricing, because it looks like it's a bit more expensive than most wines here, even a early Chateauneuf du Pape, like entry-level Chateauneuf du Pape. That's milk, we don't care about that. This one is Dystre Dry. Now, Dystre Dry, if you know anything about the books, it's the last drink given to inmates that are about to be executed. So I'm making the assumption this is going to be absolute bargain bin wine. All right, big barrel, easy to drink, nondescript stuff. Now, funny enough, I don't think the Dykstra Dry actually shows up in Toussaint, but I'm going to give you both options for it. If you are going to be looking at a French wine region that just makes mass barrel wine, you just want to be looking for a Vin de France. It doesn't really matter what you're going to get. All right, I'm assuming Dykstra Dry comes in white and red, but it's just, big jug wine. Cheap, glug glug juice. All right, now this is when things get interesting. The Duke Nicholas Chardonnay. Now, Duke Nicholas Chardonnay, I'm assuming because it's named after one of the Dukes of Toussaint, it would have to be something really rather special. That being said, it doesn't look like it's a Chardonnay that's been aged for long periods of time, mind you. I believe this to be the region of Chablis, near Burgundy, which is considered one of the best Chardonnays on earth. In fact, when done right, it's considered one of the best Chardonnays ever made. So I'm assuming because it's named after a Duke, this will be a Premier Cru to a Grand Cru Chablis. Really, really, really high-end stuff. Herveloos. This one confuses me all the time because in the quest for the Bloody Baron, the stains of the wine look red. But when he says, smells dry, Herveloos, it's a very, very particular smell, something that is unique to that region. I'm making the assumption that Herveloos, for its price, which is ridiculous, it's one of the most expensive wines in the game, it would have to be champagne. Surely. That is my own personal opinion. There might be opinions to the contrary, but I believe that Herveloos is the Toussaint region of Champagne. Est Est. Now this one was interesting. You see, I believe Est Est is based off of all the information I've managed to amass from either the game or the books. Est Est has always been a mystery to me because sometimes it's a red wine, sometimes it's a white wine, sometimes it's served inside a champagne flute, like in the book Season of Storms. Est Est was served in a champagne flute or a wine flute, which I'm assuming is something that would be for a white wine. However, in the actual Blood and Wine DLC, during the garden party, you can see tasting notes for the Est Est of Toussaint. And it has very similar tasting notes to a very high-end Pinot Noir. So I'm going to say, with rather good confidence, that Est Est is not just any Pinot Noir, but this would be Gevrey Chambertin, my all-time favorite Pinot Noir, and something that is truly worthy of royal palates. Poets have written about Gevrey Chambertin. Why would Dandelion not want the wine of poets? I believe that it was a poet that once said, I forget the name of the place, I even forget the name of the girl, but the wine was Chambertin. Okay, Fiorano wine. Now, Fiorano wine, again, very nondescript. All right, but from what it looks like, it seems to be a very, very good entry-level red wine. I'm going to say a Fiorano. Bit of an interesting one. I think this would be a right bank Bordeaux. One that is Merlot heavy, and then the Cabernet is in the background. Whereas the previous would have all been left bank Bordeaux, with the exception to the Semillon, which could have either been right bank or mid-region Bordeaux. But that is my own personal opinion on Fiorano. I believe it to be a really good quality Merlot-based wine. Now, Gerald of Rivia. If you fail to get the option for the Butcher of Blaviken, they give you an option of either a red wine or a white wine. And this is Geralt of Rivia, the other option that you have here. So I think Geralt of Rivia, again, it should be a simple and easy to approach wine with a good bit of tannin to it. So I'm going to say it's going to be a Merlot Shiraz blend. Something that is easy to approach but still has really, really, really good structural integrity in the mouth. Roughness, the metal hand and the velvet glove kind of thing. Goat's milk, nah. Guillaume du Bois soulful wine. Now, this one was a difficult one for me until I found out that there was literally a French poem called Soulful Wine, or Soul of Wine, by David Boulier. And his description was a wine that does not sit very long, is sweet as, a spring day, and something that you can enjoy in the company of a beautiful woman. So I believe that Guillaume du Bois Soulful Wine is actually a really simple white wine, nice and sweet, and anyone would really enjoy it. So Moscato to me is the ideal for a proper soulful wine. Easy to approach by anyone can enjoy it, and is best enjoyed in company and as quickly as possible. Matina Rosé. There's only one real answer for this, even though it looks like big jug wine, which makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I think that Matina Rosé should be a provincial rosé, a wine, a rosé from Le Provence. It's the only real, solid answer. If you're looking at a wine region that only has one rosé, it should be the bloody best rosé that they can make. And Provence makes the best rosé. Nilfgaardian lemon, Tenalia potion, raspberry juice. Are we out? No. Saint Mateo Rouge. Saint Mateo Rouge. I'm gonna say that is a Chateauneuf du Pape, but a higher end version, just based off of the shape of the bottle. It looks rather elegant. A really, really high end Shiraz Grenache Mourvedre blend. Okay, Sans Retour Chardonnay and Sans Retour Pinot Noir. I believe that both of these would be entry level Burgundy wines. Considering that the wines of Burgundy are only Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, I think that both of these would be the equivalent of entry level Burgundy wines. Vinegar, Vizima Champion, water, White Wolf. Now, White Wolf, this is the last option for your quest if you end up helping out the two vineyards and you pick one side over the other. I believe that this beautiful bottle of white wine should be something that is full-bodied in the mouth and has a lot of complexity and is still rather rough at a young age. Very, very acidic. So, to me, there's only one wine for the White Wolf, and that was Marsanne. I adore Marsanne. It's one of my favorite white wine varieties, but I have to admit, it can kick like a mule at a young age. If it takes a bit of time for it to behave itself. I think any wine named after Geralt of Rivia should have elegance, roughness, fruity, and dryness. It's the ideal wine, in my opinion. Now, let's see if there's anything else. I don't believe there's anything else. All right, perfect. So there's one wine that is not on this list. And that wine is, it's explained in the actual DLC as the king of all wine, the greatest wine ever made. And that's a kind of difficult one because it's called Sangreal. Now, Sangreal means the blood of kings, and there's actually a real life equivalent, and that's sangria. However, I can't imagine that sangria, the low budget wine that you mix with different things to cover up the bad taste of it, is the equivalent of a duke's or royalty wine. So there's only two things that I could possibly think of, and I would not have the capability to even afford them. And they are protected. And that would be a really high-end Chateau Margaux, because Margaux was literally the wine of Napoleon himself. He was teased on it. It was known as, the emperor's wine. The other thing I could think of would be a Domaine de Romanée-Conti, which is the most expensive and most awarded Pinot Noir in the planet, on the planet. Anyway, guys, that's a wine nerds version of all the wines in The Witcher. I want you guys going out, buying some of these bottles and enjoying a glass whenever you play as Geralt of Rivia in the gorgeous Duchy of Toussaint. Bonus, if you guys are interested, there was actually Carmenere mentioned at the vineyard of Corvo Bianco, which is the new home of Geralt of Rivia. So I would also suggest getting yourself a Chilean Carmenere to enjoy with that, because the Carmenere in France is sort of dubious, unfortunately. Cheers, guys. Stay safe. God bless.